representing your country on the world stage and at the highest level at the Olympics as well is just no better feeling, really.
Is there any trash talk?
If you just really grasp on with two hands, it can really take you a long way.
So what's your build-up like into the 2024 Paris Olympics?
We've got fourth the last 5 Olympics, so we're looking to change that this time.
At that stage, when you're realising, okay, I'm pretty good at this.
I want to win 3 gold medals.
Okay, BackChat, powered by Fleet Network, a big year here. Look, there's a few things to get off the top. Dan Const, there is no Dan Const. He's vacant today, but I'm a big boy. I can handle this man by myself. Now, you may be tuning into the podcast. Matthew Richardson. You've already had Matthew Richardson on the podcast. Well, I'm here to tell you this is world champion Matt Richardson, and he is sitting right with me right now. Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure here on BackChat. I know you're well researched in this one. You were giving me a few pointers on how the setup was, and you've just experienced. This is actually round 2. We started again. Jaden, great pickup. It could have been in big trouble if we had have gone through without the video turned on. But we are here. We are live. Your greatest sporting achievement, not on the cycling track. I don't want to hear about the velodrome. I don't want to hear about your Com Games gold medals, your world championships. You've been on the podium at multiple world championships. I don't want to, look, you're good at cycling, okay? For right now, I don't want to hear about it. I want to know your greatest sporting achievement, not on the bike. You got something for me?
I do have something for you, actually. I do. I knew it was coming. I watched a few,
Good.
A little bit of research.
Great.
See what I was in for.
What do you got for me?
I have got under 13.
Now we're talking.
State champion.
Yeah.
Flags, surf lifesaving.
Now, you are talking my absolute language. You are sitting opposite a fellow state champion under 9 flag champion.
No way.
Yeah, right here. Welcome. This is great. I don't even want to talk about cycling. What was your club? Tell me about it. This is like the ultimate. If you don't know what flags is, if you're listening, you're like, what are these blokes talking about? It's the ultimate man-to-man, woman-to-woman contact competitive sport.
Yeah.
Where did it happen?
Okay.
Who are you competing for?
I can really paint the picture.
Please do.
It's still like really in there. So,
Under 13s.
Floriat Surf Lifesaving Club.
Great.
So, I can go a little bit back
Please.
into why I was doing surf lifesaving.
Please do.
Okay, so moved to Australia when I was 9. Mum thought probably a good idea to kind of get the kids into some sort of surf lifesaving so that, we're going to absolutely charge down to the beach every opportunity we get. So figured learn how to not die in that ocean that's going to just suck us out and sharks and goodness knows what else. I suck at swimming. So I really kind of grasped onto the flags and the beach sprints and like that sort of thing.
Yes.
So that was sort of my forte.
Yeah.
And then, I don't want to kind of shit on the club, but we kind of sucked at a lot of state champs. So that day was pretty cool. Was it
a home beach advantage?
Oh, nah, not home
Where
beach.
was it?
I think it was Sorrento, maybe.
Okay.
So somewhere more north. Yeah, more north. But yeah, it was just a wild day.
Again, if you've never seen a flag competition, like it is a rogue sport. You're face down on the sand. You got your hands under your chin. There's a bit of a like athletes ready, down,
And
go.
that's when you like put your hands on your chin. You're like,
But it's an explosive sport, right?
oh, super.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
you got
we
to push off, turn around, and then leg it, and then dive and grab it.
Could we draw
got
a
it
long
all.
enough bow that the beginnings of a world champion cyclist started at Floriat Surf Lifesaving Club as a beach flagger?
Probably. I think I showed a lot of explosiveness that day. She said it's an explosive event, so I think they were definitely the early signs that I'd have that in me. But it was a wild day, and I almost remember every single round, like just knocking them off one by one, and then it was the final me versus one other guy, and we dove for it. Sand everywhere.
Yes.
No one knew where the flag was. Rolled over.
It was in your hand, wasn't it?
In my hand. Lifted it up. And I remember after the podium, like the whole club had me like on their shoulders.
Holy shit.
And then it was like, honestly, I was like main character out of a movie that day. It was wild.
That's unreal.
Had like a awards night, like presented me with like a gift voucher and
all right, so we're in
pretty crazy.
Proper good areas here.
Yeah.
Very good, mate. Now, I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you today because I think people might watch cycling, watch the racing on TV, never really had a big conversation with someone in the sport. So I'm going to pick your brain. I want you to treat me like an idiot, as if I know nothing. Whether or not that's true, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But before then, you stole a little bit of my thunder. You weren't born in Australia. You're born. Tell the people where you're born. How that all came about, moving from England.
Yeah. So I was born in the UK, a small town called Maidstone. It's like southeast of London. I think 2 hours maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was born there and raised there till I was 9. Moved to Australia for my dad's work. He was relocated. He worked for IKEA, still does actually. But
shout out IKEA.
Shout out IKEA. Subtle shout out. But yeah, so we moved over for that, and it was pretty sick, to be honest. Like, it was all new, and it's tough when you're a kid because you have all your friends at school and that sort of thing. But I think it was almost easier being that young. You know, you just a bit more brutal at school, and you just make friends, and it's a lot more chill, I think, rather than moving over when, I don't know, maybe you've already graduated and you're trying to find work and friends, and I think that kind of thing would be a bit harder, but you're a kid and you just mix in.
It sounds like sport, given the flag story, played a fair chunk of your childhood. Like, were you a sporty kid, was sporting family?
Yeah, so I did gymnastics. Well, not a sporty family, but I did gymnastics since I was 2. So mum dropped me off at the local gymnastics club. It was more sort of maybe like preschool sort of vibes at that sort of time. Yeah, just too much energy, like get them out of the house kind of thing, drop them off there, burn some energy off. But so I was doing gymnastics till I was 14.
Right.
Started competing when I was 4.
Your state championships there?
States, nationals. Right. I put flags in because I thought it was more sick than just being like, I'm national gymnastics champion. It's like, that's
are you that?
Yeah. but it's like, that's still like an elite sport. No. So it like, I don't know, it doesn't really count.
National champion,
exactly. Too far.
Right. So like the gymnastics played a big part in your growth. Like, again, I keep jumping forward, but cyclist now, world champion. What's that like do you think that played a big part in your development? Like physically?
100%. Like I think gymnastics is good to learn a lot of key things like body coordination, general strength. It teaches a lot of discipline as well. Like it's a pretty brutal sport, quite strict, a lot of hours. Like I was doing 36 hours a week when I was 10.
Yeah, wow.
So it's just brutal. But I guess if you come out of it injury-free, you can be obviously really successful. I got injured, which is why I stopped.
Right. What sort of injury?
Medical term that I don't really understand, but basically the bone was getting damaged in my elbow. It was like an overuse injury.
Right.
So I basically had to have 18 months out of the sport to let it recover, which is just such a long time. Like you take 2 weeks out and you come back and you feel sluggish and uncoordinated and all sorts. So it's 18 months was a bit too long, and was already doing a bit of cycling on the side just by chance.
Are you in the gym as a young kid then? Like, and I don't mean
like weights gym.
Yeah.
That started to come in when I was about 12, 13. I reckon we started doing a bit more targeted work in the gym, just for core, a bit of bench, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much you can do actually in the gym doing all your skills and stuff. It's sort of just a bit more targeted work, but nothing for the legs, like no squats, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Legs were small back then.
So I was about to ask that. So like gymnasts, like, traditionally would have like a pretty strong upper body.
Yeah.
So is it when you get injured that you start transitioning to cycling, or like you said, was there a crossover?
Yeah. So I went to go watch a race at the Midland Speed Dome, and there was
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, the Speed Dome.
Move yourself.
And there was a lady going around, kind of scouting people in to the sport, and their club night, shout out Midland Cycle Club, was Wednesday night, and that was the only night I had off gymnastics. So I don't know how I did it, but like now, there's no way. But I was training 36 hours a week, and I thought, you know what, the one night I have off a week, I'll feel charging around a velodrome as well.
Right.
I did that, and that was probably, I'm going to say about 6 months before I stopped gymnastics. So I was doing that, a bit of talent ID here and there on a couple of other nights. And then gymnastics stopped on a Friday afternoon in the doctor's office, and I was cycling Monday morning full time. Well, full time, but full focus.
Because, I was going to ask like how cycling comes about and how you get into the sport. I know like it seems like a sport that there's a lot of different pathways. Like it's very different to an AFL or a cricket or a soccer where it's like, these kids are bred from 2 years old. Like everyone rides a bike when they're, a couple of years old, but not many take the professional cycling route. Yeah. So like the gym to cycling works for you, but like how do you think, like where do you think the interest side of things came? Like was the competition element?
I'm a super competitive person with anything. Whether it's a ball game or we go bowling or don't know, backyard cricket, whatever it is. It's like full gas. So I think that's always kind of been in my blood, and it was a fun sport. Like when you start, like it's just 45-degree banking corners, and it just is exhilarating. Like it feels pretty crazy to just have the space that's literally a circle to just ride your bike as fast as you can. You know, there's no traffic, there's nothing in your way.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where the draw was just the speed.
What was what were you? I'm just trying to think. Is it put my parents' hat on? Like, was mum and dad happy with your racing? Like, it looks like a dangerous sport.
Yeah, it's pretty sketchy at times.
And so, as a kid or as a 14-year-old, is that go, Matty? Like, are we doing that, or are we like dropping you off and be like, please don't hurt yourself?
Yeah, a bit of both. Of both. Like dad froths it, but mum struggles to watch. I think even now, like
really.
And elite Keirin final, we're all going like 80k an hour, touching shoulders and stuff. So it's a bit gnarly. You know, we're wearing lycra, so there's nothing between you and the wood. So yeah, mum struggles to watch a little bit, but full support, but also nervous that something bad might happen.
What's that pathway like then from Midland? I was going to say Power Dome. What was it?
Power Dome's sick, actually.
Speed Dome. No, what is
if
it?
I ever have a velodrome, I'm calling it the Power Dome.
So what's the pathway from Midland Wednesday nights in between gymnastics to a pretty reasonable standard of cycling, perhaps like your scholarships or what's that? How do you do that?
So if I remember correctly, it was Wednesday night, like you said, and then there was this sort of TID program that was run on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That still runs. Right. Like that's still a thing that they do every year, is try and bring more people into sport through TID.
Right. Like talent identification.
Talent identification, that's it. So I don't know if we applied or I got picked up through the club or the coaches of the clubs kind of put riders forward or how it actually worked out. But I did that. And then once gymnastics stopped, it was obviously full focus on cycling. And then somewhere along the lines, I ended up making like a state team to go to nationals and that sort of thing. And then you start putting like times on the board, selection times for like a way scholarship or things like that. So that's kind of how it came about. Like I went to nationals in 2016, I think it was 2015 maybe.
And how old are you then?
I was 16.
Yeah.
So it was under 17 nationals. That was my first national champs.
Right.
Was under 17s. And then kind of did some times that were pretty good. And then the following year, we're kind of stepping up into the under 19 ranks, which is where you can go to like junior worlds and that sort of thing. So that's when they start to put athletes in WACE, which is obviously the Western Australian Institute of Sport. So that's kind of where it takes off. Once you get in WACE, it's like sky's the limit.
At what point did you know you were good?
Probably when I got into WACE.
Right.
I think that was it. Like once I started to kind of get an opportunity where I was going to be able to train at an institute and get things given to me and flights paid for and things like that, like that's when you kind of have the realization that like this is going pretty good. Obviously you're still at school at that time, so it's like you're not just like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, but you're going to give it a fair crack. And I think, like I said, like that's when the door is just wide open. Yeah. And if you just really grasp on with two hands, it can really take you a long way.
Do you think it's at that stage when you're realizing, okay, I'm pretty good at this? Do you think you spoke about your development as a gymnast and your physical side, but how much is it talent? Is it physical? Is it mental? Like, can you break down like what makes a good cyclist, especially at an early age?
Oh, at an early age, I think at an early age it's like almost 100% talent.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Like I kind of sucked. Like I got into WACE, but I wasn't that good.
Right.
Like I was good at my role in the team sprint, and we can get into all the races and stuff later. But
don't worry.
Like in the individual stuff, like I was pretty bad. Like at that under 17 nationals, like I finished nowhere in anything.
Right.
Like I wasn't that good. I was just kind of all right. And there was a lot of other guys that were super talented. Like we all kind of work hard. We all enjoy riding a bike, but you're not at 16 years old, you're not like an absolute man of a mind. You know what I mean? Like you're still a kid and you're going to school, like I said, and you're kind of just charging around.
Yes.
So I think at the beginning, it's almost all talent.
It's pretty cool that you're still just riding your bike, like as a 16 nationals. Like in there, if you break it right down, it's sort of like again other sports where kicking your footy with your mates. Or
I mean, even now, I just ride bikes in circles. Like, it's just, it's nothing really much more than that, to be honest.
I think you're underselling a little bit there. Okay, so when does the transition happen between, talent to, I'm assuming, hard work, mentality? Like, how do you, when does that happen? When you start getting that waste scholarship and you start competing at higher levels?
I think it happens at a different point for most people or for everyone. Like for me, I was always quite underdeveloped. Like, I don't know if it was because of gymnastics and that sort of thing. Yeah, physically. Like, I'm not a massive person. So everything I've got, I've had to work really hard for. Like, when I got into waist as a 16-year-old, I was only like 48 kilos. Like, I was tiny.
Holy
like, I'm like almost double that now. I think I actually am double that now.
Wow.
So it's, for me, it was really hard. Like, for me, it was under 19s basically. So I came through as a first year and started to get pretty good.
Right.
Once I started to kind of develop, go through solid stages of puberty and that sort of thing, that's when it really started to accelerate for me. That's when the kilos went on in the gym and kilos went on the body as well. And that's sort of where it really started to take off.
And like
that's when the hard work started.
So talk to me about cycling. Let's break some events down. So you're into racing, you're doing all that, understand all that. Tell me about some of the events. So you're a sprinter.
Yeah.
You're not riding in the Tour de France.
Classic question people ask me.
I know you're not.
Classic.
But you're a sprinter, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the events that you really specialize in and what you're good at. Maybe Keirin sprint, team sprint.
Oof,
Let's go with those. I know a little bit.
That's pretty good.
So tell us about what those races are, how they're different. I know it's a bit of an extended chat, but I think it's important.
Okay, yeah. So in sprint cycling, you have, or sprint track cycling, you have 4 main events. The team sprint, which we'll start with. So that's 3 riders. You'll start together and you do 1 lap each. So the first person's going to do 1 lap. The second person will overall do 2 laps. And the third person will do 3 laps. So,
and is there like a set rule, or do they?
Yeah, there's like a specific point you have to change over, swing out the way, let the other rider through. Yeah. You can't do any more or less. Everyone's changing the exact same spot. You can't be ahead of that person by what's called the pursuit line, which is the red line in the home and back straight. So yeah, we all start together. It's kind of hard to imagine until you actually watch it, but we all start together.
Someone's in the blocks.
Yeah, someone's in the gate. Yeah, and the other 2 people are just handheld. So yeah, the position 1 just as the fastest. Each lap is 250 meters as well. I'll say that. So on a standard racetrack, it's 250 meters.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, there's other tracks, 333s and stuff like that, but 250 is the standard.
Right.
So yeah, position 1 does 250 meters. Position 2 will do 500. So 1 lap on the front for them, and then position 3 will do 750 meters, and it's the fastest time at the end of the 3 laps.
As number 3 in that race, I'm assuming you're not cruising for the first 2 laps. That
depends who you are.
Right.
Depends how easy it is to get on.
But there'd be a certain discrepancy in, I'm assuming the number 1 guy has really good in acceleration.
Correct.
Heavy sprint, whereas the number 3, more endurance,
yeah,
lasts a little longer, but still needs to be able to bring it home.
Yeah. So here's where all the different, there's lots of different ways to kind of field together a team sprint, and you do it with obviously the riders that you've got. But ideally, you have the most explosive person in position 1 with the least amount of endurance.
Yeah.
And then you have a bit of a hybrid in between, right, where they've got a lot of explosive capability because they need to get on to the wheel of position 1. You need to be in that slipstream.
Yes.
And position 3 also needs to do that, but needs to do a whole nother lap on what position 2 is doing. So you get sort of a natural spread, which is what we've got. We've basically got the most explosive guy in 1, me in 2, and we've got 2 people for the position 3 spot. Because it's so hard, you kind of sub in and out of competition.
And you were a world champion in this in 2022?
Yeah, 2022. Correct. Yeah, last year, yeah.
Silver medalist this year,
yeah,
2023. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a bit grim, but it's all right.
It was a bit better than 3rd, bit better than 4th, bit better than last, mate.
Exactly,
so
exactly. We're still going all right. We're going all right.
That is the event, world champion in.
Yeah.
You get the rainbow.
Yeah,
what are they
the rainbow jersey, yeah.
So you're the world champs for that year.
Yeah, and you get to wear it in training and just flex it all year, basically. It's a very niche thing to cycling, but it goes across all disciplines. So if that's BMX or mountain bike or gravel or the road race or whatever, it's just the recognized you are the world champion that year.
So you've started with team sprint. I gave you a few options, but you've started there. Is that your favorite? Is that your...
That's what is the best bang for buck. If you've got the guys That's the best bang for buck. It's like going into an exam that you know all the answers for. There's no tactics. There's no decision making. There's none of that. It's just go as fast as you can as a team. Right? Against the clock. Like there's, obviously we're going to sprint in Keirin, but then a lot of outside factors can happen that are completely out of your control. That can just ruin the race even if you are the fastest guy. So 8 teams qualify for the Olympics in the team sprint. So you basically have a 1 in 8 chance of winning it. Whereas the sprint in Keirin is 32. So there's 32 people and it's an individual, obviously, or an individual race.
Is cycling a team sport?
It is in a team sprint. But it's I see it as like we're all teammates.
Yes.
And we all get along so good. Like we actually have a really good culture at the moment. Like it's absolutely thriving.
Got great depth.
Yeah.
Right now in Australia,
and great depth.
Yeah.
For sure. But I see it as 3 individuals that sort of come together.
Yes.
To work as a team.
Yeah.
Because then you go away and you separate and you do end up racing each other in the sprint and the Keirin. So it's you're not going to have a good team sprint team if you're not a team.
Yes.
But you have to accept the fact that you are going to try and rip each other's heads off the next day in the sprint tournament or that sort of thing. So it's a very interesting dynamic.
Because, so it's an individual sport, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I do like that you've started with the team sprint, though. And again, a little bit of knowledge. Like, does it feel just as good winning a team sprint as it does a sprint? Like, having other people around you to high five and give a hug to, like, that must feel good.
Yeah, the camaraderie's a pretty good feeling. Like when you achieve something together, it's a pretty special feeling. Like you all see how much effort we all put in all year.
Yes.
You know, you're watching the guy next to you try and squat as much as you can and the other guy as well. And you train together and you try and build each other up.
Yes.
And when it comes off as a team, it's sick.
Like what's that moment like? Like a world champions. Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
The best in the world.
Yeah.
What's that like?
If you watch the replay back, I was in absolute bits. So I was just struggling to like even walk.
What were you, 1, 2 or 3?
I was position 2.
Right.
Yeah.
The hybrid.
Yeah, the hybrid. Because we end up doing 3 team sprints in like an hour and a half.
Wow.
Which is like the equivalent of doing like maybe like a 400 meter runner.
Yep.
Doing 3 of them in an hour and a half.
Wow.
Like you just absolutely destroyed.
Yep.
Which I was. So it felt amazing. Like you celebrate, like both hands off the bars, the crowd's cheering. You're like, yes. And then you come in and then it just,
wow,
it hits you.
Lactic.
Oh, bad. Both legs cramps. Feels like both my femurs are like snapped in half.
Wow.
It hits me real hard. I don't know what it is. Like I don't know. Like I used to be position 1. So I used to be the explosive guy, which I still obviously have. But I think the hybridness comes from just like grit.
Yeah.
So it just like I can push myself into like this another dimension and it just is bad. Wow. So it felt incredible, but then also felt horrendous at the same time.
Yes.
But I barely made the podium after that. Like I was just on the floor in pieces, just chucking water on my head. And it was,
so let's get
in a bit of a state.
Let's get to the sprint then.
Yeah.
So the sprint, would it be fair to say, like, athletics terms, like the 100 meters is kind of like the blue ribbon event? Is this the blue? Is this like this is the one, right?
This is the holy grail.
Yep.
I think because the Keirin's good, but because there's more people, there's a lot more that can go on. Whereas sprint that's the 1v1.
Yep.
So the sprint starts off by doing a flying 200 meter qualifying. So it's basically you try and do 200 meters of the track in as fast amount of time as possible.
Right.
Which means you end up using a lot of the track. You go up high, you dive down late and try and maximize the speed off the banking. That's why we call it the flying one. You get basically 3 laps to set the time, and it's the last 200 meters that are clocked. So it's basically do that last 200 meters as fast as you can.
Great.
That creates a seeding.
Right.
So fastest through to slowest or the slowest qualifier, which is normally about 32, top 32 qual. Then what happens is it goes into rounds. So the fastest will versus the slowest, second, yada, 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 all the way through. When it gets to quarterfinals, so there'll be 8 people left. Yeah. It'll be best of 3. So, the actual sprint race is 3 laps as well, but it's just a 1v1. Yes. Like that's the ones where it's all real slow and everyone's kind of cat and mouse, pushing people up and looking around and cat and mouse, that sort of thing.
I want to talk about this one.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah. This is a lot of tactics in this one. And then, it goes all the way through. So once it gets to quarters, it's best of 3.
Yep.
So obviously you have to win 2 out of 3. And then it goes into semis and then the winners go through. So if you get knocked out in the quarters, you're out.
Right.
Basically, there's no racing for anything under 4th.
Yes.
Basically, if you get knocked out, you're then seeded on how fast you were in qualifying.
Yes.
So then once you get into the top 4, it's semi-finals and finals. So 1 will verse 4, 2 will verse 3, and the winners go through the gold write-off, and the losers are fighting for bronze and 4th.
So you are reigning Commonwealth Games champion in this event.
Yeah.
You are 2022 silver medal.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened last year.
Last year was 20. Last year I came second.
Sorry.
And this year I kind of cooked it.
Okay.
Kind of cooked it.
All right, well, let's stay away from that.
Yeah. We can go into it, but
no,
I'm not hiding from it.
We can. No, exactly. So we can, but just making the point to our listeners, you can do this event quite well.
Yeah.
So I got a few questions. The tactics side of things, how much is that versus like talent, speed, strength? Like this has obviously more tactics than the team sprint.
Oh yeah, team sprint has none basically.
Yes.
So I think it was a pretty clear answer to that question at commies, where the guy who I qualified, or the guy who was versing in the final, qualified a 10th and a half quicker than me, which sounds like nothing.
How much is that?
So
Length?
a blink is 0.3 of a second,
Right.
and he was 0.15 quicker than me. However, 2 tenths in a flying 200, so still less than a blink of an eye, is like almost a guaranteed W.
Right.
Like it's just like, I think it's about a K an hour extra
Like
speed.
a bike length?
Yeah, it's about a bike length. Yeah. Which is hard to come back from in a sprint race.
I had an argument with our resident cyclist in here, Indy, before this chat we had, Matty, and I think I said 0.3 was a bike length, and she was trying to tell me 0.1. So it's
it's about that. It's about it depends how fast you're
right. So if someone's beating you in a by bike, like, that's a big distance in a sprint. Right?
That's a lot of extra horsepower that they've got. Like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is.
So the guy you're versing in the Com Games has that on you, basically.
Yeah. So
how'd you beat him?
Sheer tactics. Like, I just absolutely hustled the bloke. Like, it was.
Tell me what that is. What is it? What's shit tactics involved?
So basically, like, he left the door open, which is where I've gone underneath him late in the race. And then it's basically too late for him to come back. Once I've absolutely dumped it.
Right.
Like, like I said, I was an explosive athlete, still am. But that's my greatest strength, is my acceleration. So once I got under him, it was about a lap to go. And I've just absolutely booted it.
Right.
And then he just wasn't able to get back on terms.
So are you always trying to hold front position, or is it change between who you're racing?
It's hard. It's
a lot, right?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Like, it depends who you're racing and what their strengths are. Like, ultimately, you always try to ride to your strengths,
right?
And then on top of that, try ride against their strengths at the same time. So his strength is not acceleration.
Yes.
He's a rider from Trinidad and Tobago, so they don't have a lot of depth. He's incredible athlete, but they don't have a team sprint team, so he doesn't need to really train his excel to the same level as what I can or do. So I knew that was his probably biggest weakness. So I left the race pretty slow, forced him into a mistake, which was leaving the door open. Basically, he's looking left, he's looking right. I'm all over the place behind him.
How do you make the race slow?
You don't push him. If you're on the back,
right,
you just don't inject any speed.
Right.
They can go.
He could just
they can go as hard as he can. But then I'm just going to follow him,
right,
be in his draft, and then pass him. So you waste a lot of energy just doing that.
I love watching this without ever speaking to you. I love watching this through Olympic Games and Com Games and any cycling I watch, because it looks like it's just like ultimate mind games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is there any trash talk? Is there any talk?
Nah, not really. I've kind of wanted to get into a little bit of it at some point. Yeah, a little bit.
I like that.
Like, me and a guy called Harry Levrayson have a pretty big rivalry at the moment. He's the guy who I raced at Track Champions League last year, which is another race. But
what nationality is he?
He's Dutch.
Okay.
He's Dutch, yeah. Big cycling nation. Right, big cycling nation. Yeah. And like, almost want to like get into a bit of trash talk.
Well, like
just to kind of hype it up a little bit. Like, it's a bit of fun.
Look, I don't know what it's like to do what you do, but like rock, paper, scissors, right? If you're like head to head with someone and you're like, I'm going rock.
Yeah.
And you look them in the eye, and then you can either go rock and you fuck with their mind, and then the next time around. So I'm just thinking, like, you walk into you're next to each other when you start this race.
Yeah.
You're not on the other sides of the track.
Yeah.
Little whisper out the side of the mouth. Hey, I'm coming under you, big fella. This one's going to be a slow one. I want to see you do.
It would almost be good to learn a little bit of Dutch. Just have a couple words to him in Dutch, and you're just a bit spooked.
I don't know why.
I
Step Brothers just came on mine. It's like Germans coming on. Sprechen Sie dick, Derek. You should do that.
Yeah.
Right, so team sprint. Okay. And this is something that you've mastered. Has it been something that you felt like time in the gym and training has helped, or have you got better with like race day? Like, there's a big difference between training and racing.
Yeah.
What's made you better at this?
I think it's mainly been training. Like, we race a lot, and I think I've got it pretty nailed. Like, I just need as much horsepower as possible.
Right.
Like that day at commies, like I just overcame him with tactics. So I think as long as I've got the horsepower, then I think I can take it to almost anybody.
Right.
So yeah, I think the year after the Olympics is when I kind of moved into position 2 for team sprint, which is slightly different training.
Yeah.
As I do have to sprint longer and that sort of thing, which does help in the individual stuff in races and doing, like, I think at commies I did like 13 races that day.
Wow.
Like, it was full on.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was so much.
Too much? That's just
It's
part of the hustle.
It's just part of it. Like,
Right.
you just got to do the qualifying and get through all the rounds. Like, there's that amount of competition. Like, to be the best, you have to beat everybody else. So I think it's just part of it. At the Olympics, the sprints actually spread out over 3 days, which is really nice. But at events like Commonwealth Games or maybe like World Cups, it's all jammed into one just because of a tight schedule.
It visually watching you guys race, like, you're massive athletes, like big quaddies, big guys, right? Yeah. I think like the perception would be, well, it's just all power, but it's sounding like you need endurance, like, to an extent, to be able to back it up, to be able to recover. Is that would be a fair assessment?
Yeah, 100%. Like, we do a lot of work in the gym, just trying to get as big as possible. Like, to create the maximum amount of power on the bike, you basically just need to be have the most amount of lean mass in your legs as possible. Upper body is a bit controversial. If you get too big in your upper body, it limits your power to weight. Right. So you obviously end up just being heavier. So you obviously need a bit to be able to hold the bike stable while you're trying to produce that maximum amount of power. But you don't want too much of it because, like I said, it's weight and it's also extra drag as well. The bigger you are, the bigger hole in the wind you're pushing, which also slows you down.
It sounds like there's a lot of, like, if you do this, then this happens. A lot of levers that if you pull one lever, something else is happening. Yeah, you can't just go, okay, I'm just going to get the biggest possible.
No. Well, that's it. Like, we need to get as big as possible, but then we're also trying to train endurance to be actually able to ride bikes fast. Now, we don't need a lot of it. The maximum amount we'll ride is about 3 laps.
Yes.
So you don't need a huge amount. But again, you need to be able to do 13 in a day kind of thing. So you can't just be a gym junkie. Like, you need to be somewhat athletic as well. Like, it's a balance. It's a balance of doing, if you do too much track, it kind of ruins your gym gains. And if you do too much gym and not enough track, then you're kind of just slow.
So what do you like? What do you like race day? Are you confident? Are you nervous?
I'm pretty good. I struggled to eat breakfast that day, but other than that, I'm pretty good. Good. Yeah, I was telling Indy about it the other day.
What happened?
Just smoothie. I'm a big smoothie man.
Okay.
A big smoothie
man.
Easy
to get down.
Just good amount of calories, good amount of carbs, get it down quick. It's a liquid.
Yes.
Until it decides to come back up.
Right.
As soon as it gets down, which is, it's grim. I don't know what it is. Just like wake up on race day and it's just like, nah, you're not going to eat today, mate.
Right.
But I'm getting better at it.
Right.
But it's weird. I don't feel nervous, so it's weird.
Right. So you're just a spewer.
Oh, big time. When I race, it's game over. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that common? Like, do sprinters just spew?
Yeah, because we can push so far past what we should be able to.
Right.
Because we have to. Like, if we have to cover a short amount of distance in the shortest amount of time possible, you have to extract absolutely everything.
Right.
Which is all we do on a daily basis.
Yes.
So we can kind of push past that ceiling and just go above and beyond into kind of what our bodies tolerate. And then, I yak a lot. Yeah, a lot.
Put that as the title of the YouTube channel. Matt Richardson, I yak a lot. Now, okay, so we got team sprint, Keirin.
Yeah.
Now, tell our listeners, our audience, our viewers, what is the Keirin? Because I think it's a beautiful thing.
The Keirin is fantastic.
Look, it looks like it's somewhat fun, but like aggressive, dangerous, all of that.
Yeah.
In the same thing.
Yeah.
What is it?
So the Keirin is a 6-lap race. You'll start like side by side. So basically pick a number out of a hat. Right. That's your starting order. Then the Durney, or it's basically a motorcycle, comes through underneath you.
There's a guy on a motorbike.
Guy on a motorbike. The traditional is like this little pedal bike with like a little 2-stroke engine that sounds quite funny.
Yes.
Now they're obviously into like electric bikes and that sort of thing. But he picks you up, the gun goes, you go off, You all sit behind him for 3 laps. Right, so like the pressure's building. Like you're just sitting there going about 50k an hour.
Fighting position?
Nah, not allowed to do that anymore. You used to be able to just fight off the line,
right?
But they're just like, nah.
So you come off where you've picked the numbers out,
Yeah.
and you kind of go into that position.
Yeah, so you pick numbers before you go up onto the track.
Yep.
Roll up onto the track. 1 starts at the bottom, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to the top.
What do you want? Middle, front, back?
So we actually worked it out. Like we've got like every Keirin ever done, and basically have like spreadsheet.
Run it through AI, basically.
Yeah, and like what's the best position, basically, and it's generally closer to the front. Like you don't get as much success from the back, but we'll get into that.
Okay, good. So you're following this guy around on a motorbike.
Yeah,
he's got the best job ever.
Yeah,
he's just cruising around.
Yeah, they're just cruising around. Work up to about 50k an hour from 30. So 3 laps, you kind of increased about 15, 20k an hour.
Right.
And then he drops you off, and it's just 3 laps to go.
Right.
Every man for themselves. Right. So yeah, 6 guys. You get up to about 80 plus k an hour.
Wow.
Sometimes you're passing people like 4 wide because obviously it's bank corner, so you end up obviously stacking up. And
so the higher you
get,
the more dangerous it is?
Well, the higher you get, the further distance you ride.
Okay.
So
is it more dangerous? You feel like you just dismiss
it? It's just dangerous anywhere, to be honest. Like it's just a dangerous sport. But yeah, definitely being sandwiched in between people is not a fantastic spot to be in for safety.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just the bike goes, here you go, here's 50k an hour, and then everyone else, good luck.
So you were silver medalist in the World Champs this year?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
In this one? And like you said, this has got
redemption from the sprint.
Yeah, correct. Right. So you're angry with this one. This has got the most variance. So if we've got team sprint, no variance.
Yeah.
Sprint, there's some tactics.
Yeah.
This one, anything can happen.
Yeah. Because like you have a plan, like you know who's in the race, you know who's qualified for say. It's similar where sprint, where it kind of the start of the day isn't done by a qualification or anything like that. You're kind of put into Keirin's based off maybe like your UCI ranking, which is like your basically your cycling ranking.
Yes.
And then you go through, like top 2 go through, and then it kind of whittles down to a 6-man final.
Right.
And then, yeah, you know who's going to be in it, what their sort of capabilities are. Are they sort of that explosive athlete? Are they someone who can go longer, sprint earlier, more endurance, that sort of thing? So you kind of come into it with a plan of what you'd like to execute, what you think they're poor at executing, see if you can expose them. But anything can happen.
Right.
None of that could happen.
Right.
The guy who you think is going to go long might not go.
Yeah, so it's just racing.
It's just put yourself in the best position possible.
Yeah.
But basically, a good rule of thumb is with 1 lap to go, be first or second wheel.
Yeah, you want to be able to win.
If you're 6th and everyone's going full gas, you can't come around 5 people going 80k an hour.
Right.
Like it's just too much distance to make up. It's physically impossible.
But everyone wants to do that, which makes it, you know what I mean? Like
everyone's trying to do similar sort of shit.
Yeah, I think it's a great one to watch. So you were, silver world champs. How's that race go?
It was good.
It?
Yeah, it was actually really good.
Yeah.
It was actually really good. So I'm behind. Who was I behind? Maybe can't remember where I was.
Yeah.
I've ended up being behind Harry. So he's the Dutch fella, 13-time world champ or something like that.
Fuck
Ridiculous.
Harry.
Ridiculous.
I don't like Harry. You don't have to say it. I don't even know Harry. So you're behind Harry.
Yeah, he's behind Harry. He's gone pretty hard, like 2 laps to go. I'm in like box seat.
Great.
So I'm basically
little slipstream.
Yeah. I've got a bit of a slipstream. I'm letting him go a little bit to give myself a bit of breathing room behind him to kind of run at his wheel in case a rush comes from behind. So I'm basically managing him. He's kind of looking at me. I'm looking at all the people behind me. They're trying to come around. I'm kind of starting to like fight with them a little bit to kind of like
you can get your elbows out of it.
Yeah, land on a few people.
It's not like in the rules like you're allowed to do this.
You're not. It just happens. It's just racing. It's racing. So have a bit of a tussle with someone coming behind, and then I actually am looking pretty good. 1 lap to go. I'm in second wheel. The guy in front of me is dying. Harry's dying.
Right.
So I start booting it around him through that first corner, and then out of nowhere, Colombian comes from the sky. So he actually did come from the back.
Wow.
Started moving like a lap and a half to go and just created like so much momentum, and the rest of us were almost sitting ducks. So I come around Harry, but he ends up rolling around me. So he wins, I get second, and then I think a Japanese fella also got around Harry. So Harry's off the podium.
Sucked in Harry.
So Harry got fourth that race. But it was just a bit of redemption from the sprint tournament, and it was a good way to finish Worlds.
It's all right. That's a good synopsis of what we're doing there. So sprint, Keirin. Yeah. Is that what? So if we look ahead now, so World Champs are in August.
Yeah.
2024 Olympics, is that the next big event, or have you got some stuff in between here?
Yeah, so I fly to Europe on Saturday to race the event called UCI Track Champions League.
Can we give a little shout out that BackChat might be making an appearance?
BackChat's making an appearance.
Holy shit. I'm actually pretty excited about it now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's going to be on my quad.
Is it?
Yeah, it's going to be on the side of my quad. It's a big spot. It's a big spot.
I love that. So keep an eye out on socials for BackChat making an appearance on Matt Richardson's quad. Right, so that's over in Europe. Done some of that stuff.
Yeah, so raced that last year. Actually won that last year. That was the one that Harry and I were kind of going head to head. Yes. It's one race every weekend, and it's like a different place in Europe. So it starts off in Mallorca on a Saturday, and then Berlin, Paris, and then a double header in London for a Friday and Saturday.
So is that Paris the same track you'd race in the Olympics?
Yeah, same track as the Olympics, yeah.
So you get through this stuff. I want to talk about the Olympic preview. Because I do, whether it's, too honest or not, I think a lot of people tune into cycling for the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Because
for sure.
It's when people's eyes on that aren't cycling fans. So what's your build-up like into the 2024 Paris Olympics? So
after Czech Champions League, I've actually got a World Cup here not here, but in Australia, in Adelaide.
Good.
So that's sick. We don't have to fly anywhere. Normally, we're always carting over to Europe to try and race.
You're based out of Adelaide?
Yeah, we're based out of Adelaide. The whole cycling program's based out of there. A lot of the endurance riders train in Europe and stuff like that on the road, but the sprint team is pretty much there all year round. So yeah, World Cup there, which is sick. Kick off the year.
Yep.
And then national championships a few weeks after that. That's just kind of go and just polish up on some tactics against the Aussie guys. Yes. And then after that, we've got another World Cup in Hong Kong. So basically the World Cup's used for obviously race experience, that sort of thing, but qualification points. So you can't race the Olympics if you haven't actually qualified, if you haven't actually got enough points.
So have you qualified?
So we're looking very good.
Good.
So I'm ranked 1 in the Keirin, ranked 2 in the sprint.
In the world?
Yeah.
Right.
And ranked.
That seems quite good.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. Could be better, but not too bad.
Right. So So 1 in the sprint.
No, 1 in the Keirin. Yep. It's actually switched. Last year I was actually no, that's incorrect. Last year I was 1 in sprint and 1 in Keirin, and then Harry's managed to snatch the sprint away from me. So Harry's 1 in sprint.
He's like
but he's like 6th in Keirin, so it's all right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So World Cups, and then after that it's basically just a 20-week build into the Olympics. So just a lot of time to train, make sure you're doing everything right, a lot of consistency, and just build in. We'll do a pre-Olympic camp in Portugal, get over to Europe, kind of get acclimatized a little bit, as it will be summer there and winter here and that sort of thing, jet lag, and then just Olympics.
So this will be your second Olympics. You're at Tokyo 2020.
Yes.
Do you look back on that experience and forward focus for this upcoming one, and what can you do better? What could go wrong? I don't know.
Last year went pretty wrong.
Right.
So last year I came into it and just basically cooked my back. Bad. Like similar to you after the return from back into the
one of the
Eagles.
great return sporting moments. And we just want to take our focus off world champions playing in the waffle, getting done by 100 points. Right. So you broke your back.
I broke my back.
Right.
Bad. Right. So it was kind of just a little niggle that came in and then just built like Olympic pressure. You want to keep training, you want to keep pushing, trying to do the maximum, but it just ended up getting worse and worse and worse. A few cortisone injections later, and I was just full rest mode. So I just didn't have the base coming in. I did race all events, so I raced team sprint, and Keirin, but sucked pretty bad. Right. The Keirin was okay, but the team sprint we got 4th, bit grim. We've got 4th the last 5 Olympics.
Is that right?
So we're looking to change that this time.
Yeah, is that like a top of priorities for you?
Yeah, well, team sprints, like I said, because only 8 teams qualify, and there's like 32 in the individual stuff, and there's no tactics. It's like the main event. As long as you're like good. Like if we were 8th fastest team sprint team, then I'd probably be like more focused on sprint and Keirin, just for a solo mission. But the team sprint for us is obviously like we're top 1-2 with the Dutch, and the other teams aren't super close at the moment. So that's what we're coming in to win.
Competing for your country, like the Olympics, obviously world champs. Is that special for you? Because not many people get to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like it really set in last time when I'd obviously gotten injured, and it basically went up all the way until like the day before. Like my back was still playing up, and whether or not I'd race or not was still kind of up in the air. And I think that was really like a wow moment of like how badly I want to represent my country at the Olympics. Like if I got this far and missed out like the day before, would have been grim.
Right.
It's sick. Like you say, just representing your country on the world stage and at the highest level at the Olympics as well is just no better feeling, really.
is there like, and you can just be like, no, don't ask me that. But like, you were born in England.
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
A lot of people ask me this. So,
Yeah. Well, like, it's interesting. Like,
yeah. Well, track cycling actually first came into my life when I watched Chris Hoy at the Beijing Olympics. So I watched
Chris Hoy.
Yeah.
Right.
Watched him live win the Keirin in Beijing.
Right.
Mum was like, "Do you know who that is?" I was like, "Nah, that's Chris Hoy." And I was like, "Sick." So parents have actually really liked track cycling for a while, I think. So that was sort of my first touch in track cycling, but it's just been all Aussie. Yes. You know what I mean? Like track cycling for me didn't start until I was in Australia. Right. I didn't start competing internationally until I was in Australia for a while. So like I'm Australian.
Did you have a choice? Like, was there a choice to make?
After Junior Worlds, it was a bit up in the air, like because I hadn't competed at an international level as an elite rider, I could just swap. Right. So I was waiting to see if I did get picked up by the national team and how long the process was going to look, and if kind of the doors were shut for whatever reason, then I may have looked elsewhere, but they didn't. They opened up straight away, basically, as soon as Junior Worlds finished.
I think it's pretty cool. Like, it's unique, right?
Yeah.
There wouldn't be like a lot of people.
Nah, well, and it's not like the Brits suck. You know what I mean? It's not as if like I don't know, going to a country that kind of doesn't really have a good cycling base or something like that. Like, it's an interesting dynamic where both kind of options are like really competitive environments. And
why are the countries that are good at cycling? So Australia's good, Great Britain's good, Netherlands are good, like the USA is good. Like they're they have been good. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. So why are those countries good?
It's a very how do I say this, like technologically advanced sport,
right?
So if you got a decent amount of money, a decent amount of funding, you'll do pretty good.
Right.
You need riders coming through. Like you can't just have an amazing bike and then have someone's dad on it. Like it has to be
Scully riding around the velodrome.
Like it has to be an elite athlete. But if you have the talent ID and if you have the motions in place to kind of bring people through and then the money to put them on good equipment, you're gonna have a pretty good time at it. I think there's a few nations that has actually been brought up recently, like the Trinidad and Tobago fella, another guy from Suriname, are actually really good as well. So they train in Switzerland at a UCI center. So that place does it for them, basically. They go, stay there, train there.
And they put their countries on.
Yeah.
Colours on.
Exactly. So that's pretty much where it is. Like if you've got a decent amount of coin and a good amount of grassroots sport in cycling, then you're going to be pretty well set off.
What's the goal for the 2024 Olympics? What do you want to do there?
I want to win 3 gold medals.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That ever been done?
Yes.
By an Aussie?
No. Oh.
No. I mean,
I hope not. I'm pretty sure it hasn't.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it hasn't.
Right.
It has by Jason Kenny, British rider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if Chris did it. Thing is back when Chris was riding, like he obviously raced at 2012 Olympics, which is very similar layout to this Olympics, but a few years previous they had the kilo as well, which is a different sprint event at the Olympics and stuff like that. So like the team sprint, and Keirin, I think Jason Kenny, maybe Ryan Bailey's done it, but I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think we won team sprint.
Right.
So yeah. So it's on the cards.
That's lofty though.
Oh, it's lofty. It's lofty. Like I think it'll end up being 7 days of racing in a row.
Right.
To try and win all 3. So team sprints, obviously the priority. That's what we come in. That's what we stand like the highest chance of winning. But I think over the last couple of years, I've demonstrated that I can contest the sprint and Keirin on a serious level.
Talk to me about the mindset and mentality around being the best in the world at something. I can see that you're a big guy. I can see you work hard. I can see you got talent. You talk about the technology.
Yeah.
But what about the mind? Do you have an advantage? Do you have things that you do that you think others don't? Like, talk to me about the mentality.
Oh, like on race day or in day to day, or
big question, right?
Yeah.
I think probably day to day. Yeah. Like you are the best at the world at something.
Yeah.
There has to be a big mental aspect to that.
Yeah. I think like I love what I do, so it doesn't feel very hard to do it day in, day out. Like as a track sprinter, we do have a lot of what we call rest days. So most of the time I'm having about 4 of them a week. Like today's one of them. It's pretty good. Honestly, it's a pretty cruisy sport. It's a pretty cruisy sport.
Righto.
When we train though, it's like full on.
Yes.
Like I'll be in gym for 3 hours and like all of that is like maximum.
Right.
Same with the track.
Right.
So it's challenging, but not really. Like I don't know. I enjoy it so much that it's what I do for a living, but it almost feels like a hobby. Like, I don't know. It just feels like I'm just doing what I love and it's fun. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I'm getting paid to do it, but I almost don't need to. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a fun sport to do. Like, I don't find it a challenge to go train all day and then like switch off. Like, I'm happy thinking about cycling all the time if I want to think about cycling all the time or not. Like, it's just, life's fun. Like, it's good.
What about race day then?
All right. Race day's a bit of a different story.
Good.
Yeah. Race day's a bit of a different story. It's challenging.
So
It's tough.
how do you get an edge then? Mentally?
It depends who you are. Like, for me, I think staying calm is big part of it, which I think I've got pretty much down to a T. Like I said, I struggle to eat my breakfast, but once I've got the breakfast down, I'm away. I'm good.
Right.
But you're constantly switched on. Like commies, for example, it's 13 races in a day. So you start with the qualifying. So you come in prepared. You don't know how it's going to go, but you're trying to put your best foot forward in that, obviously. And when I get nervous, my legs actually go like lactic a bit, which obviously does not help performance at all.
Right.
So that's challenging, trying to stay calm in my flying 200.
How do you stay calm?
Just breathe.
Really?
Just relax. Just chill. I don't know.
You can't just tell yourself to chill though. And again, like I'm no cyclist, but I've performed at an elite level. Like just saying, "Oh, let's just relax." Like that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So don't tell me that. Is it music? Is it? Do you use mindfulness techniques? Do you have focal points? Are you like reciting poetry? Like, are you like completely off grid? Like, where are you mentally before a race?
Well, the only thing I've really worked on, because it seems to be the only thing that I have an actual problem with, is the breakfast. So I do like a Rubik's Cube. I can't really do a Rubik's Cube, but I'll try and do a Rubik's Cube as I'm trying to eat my breakfast. So my mind is on nothing else other than let's do this Rubik's Cube.
You genuinely have a Rubik's Cube?
Yeah, I have like a little mini one. I won from like Time Zone once.
Wow.
So it travels well. Bit stiff.
That's great.
It's obviously not a competitive one. It's pretty stiff.
Right.
But it moves.
Right.
So yeah, and then I'm not on my phone. I'm not looking at race results from the day before. I'm not seeing some shit comment in my DMs or something like that. It's just cube.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I've never heard
that's what I've been working on recently.
Wow.
Because throwing up my breakfast has been a bit of an issue, as you can
so
imagine.
funny.
So, but then once I get racing, it's like we do it so much that for me, the cue, if it's not chill, is like, you know what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what you're doing, just back yourself. And there's a lot of times, like in a sprint qual, it's hard because all the riders are kind of going before you. Someone might have done a really quick time. Like I remember last year at Worlds, Matt Glaetzer, my teammate, he went out and set a national record. Like he went 9.4 seconds in the flying 200.
Right.
I needed to do like a 10th and a half PB and set a new national record to out-qual the guy who just went before me.
Right.
So I'm like rolling around like, oh, shit, like this is going to be a big one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we really need to pull it out of the bag here. And,
Yeah.
and it delivered. So
And you did it.
yeah. Yeah. But it's just,
Look at you just roll past it. Yeah, and I also did that. You know, right. So you pocketed it.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So then in between the rounds, then it's different because you're thinking about who you're versing next, what they're going to do, how they might race the race and that sort of thing. So it's full on all day. Like you're not switched off.
Are you in the middle of the track the entire time?
Yeah.
Is that a
Racing's
thing?
going on and like I remember.
How do you get in there? Seriously.
How do you get into the track?
Yeah, because the velodrome
It goes under. Like, okay. Fair enough. It goes under. Yeah.
So
there's a passage.
You don't like slippery side down the velodrome.
Just like over the fence, people were racing. No,
Right.
Underneath. Yeah.
Right.
Like you'll walk in.
Never knew that.
And then there'll be like a tunnel that goes under and pops back out in the infield.
Because you watch like
Yeah. How do they get in there?
Cyclists over here
It's
look
like
at me
hundreds of people.
What do you mean? Yeah. You're just like sitting around in there. So
Yeah.
that's like,
Sitting around.
yeah. Are you warming up? Like, what are you doing there? Like what are you
I'm there to
doing
race. What do you mean?
I know, but like it looks like there's just people in there the entire time.
Yeah, we're all racing.
Well, I don't know. Like you're there all day. You're just going back into the middle of the track and sitting around.
And sit around waiting for the next race.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an intense environment to be in. You go in there to
That's
warm up.
what I mean. Like I know what you're doing, but it seems crazy.
Like I remember at commies, I've gone to 3 with a guy from Malaysia. So when I say gone to 3, it was the quarters. It's best out of 3.
Right.
Won the first, lost the second. Absolutely cooked it. But anyway, went to 3.
Yes.
There's a scratch race on before me, which is an endurance event. So that's just like, I think it was 60 laps.
They're like firing guns and stuff all the time in that one. When
people
like,
crash.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then there's like this 6-person crash. They go over the fence, hit some spectators. Like, it's chaos.
Wow.
And I'm like sitting there like trying to focus on my race. I'm not important here. Like, the crash is definitely important.
Yes.
Obviously, those people are getting hurt. But like, just the environment is just insane. You know what I mean? Someone might do something sick.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a guy called Filippo Ganna might set some new IP world record or something crazy.
Right.
And you're just sitting there, or I might watch my partner race or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's...
Oh, you got the added.
Yeah. So it's just an intense environment to be in. And I think it seems quite wild, but I've done it so many times that that's just race day. You know what I mean? That's just where I am, how it is. Music is good. Music is good. Obviously, you got the commentators and the crowd and everything's going on all the time, and it's just a lot of head noise. So music is definitely a key part of my routine, especially in warm-up.
Yes.
Get some good bangers on.
Is that what we're talking?
Oh, yeah. Some like good shit. Like, I start kind of grunting a little bit more. I was like, just getting fired up. Just getting real fired up.
Southern River Band type areas, or we're talking like some big drops, like some sort of house type areas?
Nah, I like a bit of like old school rock.
Oh,
Yeah.
Southern River Band. The guys, I don't know. Southern River Band, local boys. I'll send you some after this. We'll get you sorted.
All right, sweet.
Have you had many big stacks? Like, there's a lot of, you're a casual, cool, calm guy, and you're talking yourself down and all this, but it's a dangerous sport.
Yeah.
Have you had any big prangs, or
I actually...
do we have to touch wood for?
Yeah, touch wood.
Yep.
Sure. I haven't actually had a really big one. I've come down. I was actually thinking about this last night. I was watching your
This will be good.
I was watching your hilarious video, by the way, but I was watching your review on grand final.
Right.
Only full game of footy I've ever watched.
Oh, 2018.
Not live as well.
Is that right?
Yeah, so that's kind of wild. But
You've never watched any other games of football other than that game?
apart from live. Apart from, obviously, I'm not going to leave halfway through.
All right.
So I'll finish it.
Okay,
you know
okay.
what I mean?
Yes.
But not live. I was in the pub down at Inaloo.
Right.
Watched you. Phenomenal.
You enjoyed
athlete.
that?
Yeah.
What's the segue here?
You doing the review. We'll get to it. You doing the review on your game, and you were like selling people the dummy and stuff like that. So I did that actually with Nicholas Paul, the guy from Trinidad and Tobago, to World Cup last year. So I've sold him the dummy underneath.
Right.
Broken his ankles on the bike. He's stacked it, and I've just gone over him. So I've had nowhere to go. So I've just hit him and then crashed as well. Landed on him, luckily. But yeah, so that was my last time I crashed.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's never happened before, breaking someone's ankles on the track.
Yes.
Until that moment. He's looking left, looking right. I've gone up, gone down, and he's just stacked it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does everyone know, is that like a bit of a poster moment in basketball, or like a scully moment left and right?
Nah, because it never happens.
Oh, you fucked that guy up.
A lot of my teammates were like, that's kind of funny, but yeah, just bamboozled the bloke. But so that was the last time I crashed, but nothing wrong. But a lot of bad crashes happen. Like, you slide a long way. Like, if you come off at 80k an hour, you're sliding all the way down the home straight or one of the straights, picking up a lot of splinters. You then obviously go into the concrete, which then burns as well, and you lose a lot of skin. And I crashed. My worst crash is probably racing outdoors. It's like a concrete track.
Oh, like a bitumen type?
Yeah, it's grim.
Wow.
It shredded me. There's a photo on my gram of me as I like hit the deck, and you can see it's like my shoulder's gone, and I'm like already in pain, and like my bike's flying everywhere. And that was a Keirin.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was grim, but you just lose a lot of skin. Luckily, I've never broken any bones, like I said before. But
is everyone on the same bikes?
no, this is where the technology comes into it. So bikes make a decent amount of difference in speed, aerodynamics, stiffness, weight, all that sort of thing. So there are like legal requirements on what sort of shape it can be and that sort of thing, and how heavy or light it can be.
Is there is there like heavy scrutiny and potential like controversy around like bike equipment?
Yeah, a lot of the time, a lot of the Olympic cycles, that's when all the equipment comes out, because obviously the Olympics is like the peak of the sport for everyone.
Like, hey, here's our Olympic bike.
Our shit. Like, yeah, and now it actually happens at the World Championships before the Olympics start. Because what was happening is the Brits would rock up the Olympics with rocket ship bikes, and it didn't really give anyone else the opportunity to kind of get on terms with it. So you have to release all your equipment the year before.
Oh, there's rules.
There's rules now, yeah. And then you can buy it. It has to be for sale and all this sort of stuff. Obviously, they put it up for 150 grand, but it's still for sale.
How much they cost?
Some of them, I think one of the Malaysians' bikes is about 150k for the frame, yeah.
Really?
Something like that. It's nuts.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Mate, Fleet Network shout out. If you like, you could buy 3 or 4, 5 cars with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I did not realize that at all.
Yeah. So no one rides the same bike pretty much.
Wow.
I like us and the Canadians ride the same bike, and a few other nations have bought our bikes, which is the Argon 18.
Is that just a race day bike? Like
Nah,
you rolling around that?
Yeah. I'll get brand new one for the Olympics.
Yes.
Like brand new, light as possible, like freshy, good paint.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm
BackChat logo.
Yeah, BackChat logo on the frame for the Olympics. Might
That'd be
get
sketchy.
a bit sketchy on that one. But yeah, so like I said before, the technology that goes into the sport, a big thing, like it might not seem that obvious, but a big thing is actually your skin suit.
Right.
So the biggest thing slowing you down is you. Like you're punching the hole in the wind. Like the bike is only worth 10% of the drag.
That
right?
makes sense.
So then if you change 1% on the bike, if you get a 1% gain on the bike, or sorry, a 10% gain on the bike, which seems like a lot, it's actually a 1% gain in the overall drag, which is like nothing.
So you guys do heavy testing, like testing suits?
A lot of aero testing, a lot of wind tunnel testing, suits, material, like all that sort of stuff. So the first thing you try and optimize is your position. So getting as low, as narrow as possible on the bike. We're not riding all up here wide, high and stuff like that. We're getting all tucked in nice and low. And then second to that is what you're actually wearing, the helmet you've got on, all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
The shoes you've got, the socks you've got, shaved legs, like all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought the shaved legs was to like the crash, like aftermath.
That's a bit of it, but it's actually worth a lot.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, like, can't be worth anything. Look at that bloke. Nah. It's worth like 40 seconds over like
Shaved legs.
Quite a few K, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they tested in the tunnel and it's legit.
Is this
it's
something
legit.
cyclists are rolling out, or is this legit?
Nah, it's legit. Obviously, cyclists are rolling it out, but it's legit.
Yeah, see, like that's crazy. I think like to have that sort of advantage with like little things like that.
But it's expensive. Like skin suits can cost north of $5,000.
So is it financial, the sport? Like we speak to a lot of people doing Olympic sport. Like you making money being like a full-time cyclist?
Yeah, I get paid.
Got heaps of cash, bro.
Nah, it's not like that. But
no, but like
I get paid to ride, obviously, like enough to comfortably live off.
And is that through sponsorship? Is that through winning comps? Like
Well,
how do you make money riding?
Yeah, so until recently, it's just been we get a bit from like Cycling Australia, or Oz Cycling as they're called now, but we get a bit from them, and then a lot of it is dependent on how good you are, basically. So there'll be one target event each year. So if it's Commonwealth Games year, it's that. If it's the Olympics year, it's that. And if it's not, then it's the World Championships that year. So depending how good you do, there's different tiers of funding, basically. So if you're the best, you get paid the maximum. And if you're kind of further down, then you don't get paid as much. And if you're
So it pays to be fast.
So yeah, it's really how good
incentivized.
you are. Yeah. And then now with the UCI Track Champions League, there's extra pool of funding for that. Like winning it last year basically doubled my yearly salary.
Right.
And it was just 4 weekends. So that's why I like to race that quite often. But
it's like the IPL. Cricket. It's like,
and then with the Keirin as well, it's quite traditional in Japan.
Yeah.
Not quite. It's very traditional in Japan. And it's a betting sport over there. So there's a lot of money. Like I think the G1 Keirin, which is like the top tier boys grand final, they get like $1 million US. Yeah. For winning that. Like all the Japanese guys.
Like, would you do that? Like, is that something?
Yeah, so you can actually get invited. They haven't been recently because of COVID, and they're trying to restart it up again.
International invites.
They have international invites, 6 guys, and they race like C grade, I think it is. So that's something that's definitely on the bucket list. It'll be sick. And you all race the same bike, and it's like standardized equipment, and you look like jockeys, basically. You've got like different colors on with a number and a weird looking helmet and that sort of thing.
There'd be like guys that specialize in Keirin racing in Japan.
Yes. There's guys that do it for like their job. Like they're just like, yeah, this is my 9 to 5. Like they're having a fag before the race, and you know what I mean? Like they just rock up and have a cigarette and then go race their bike.
Yeah, this is like
they're like 45 years old, 50 years old. Like they're lower down, but they're just treating this like 9 to 5. It's awesome.
Get me to Japan.
I know, it's sick.
Wow.
Such a Japanese thing as well. Just
So
something real niche.
So even when you're done and dusted here, you're off to Tokyo, wherever they race.
Well, I'll do it even when I'm not done and dusted.
Great.
Like if I get an invite, I'm there.
Great.
It's like you spend like 6 months there, just living in Japan, racing Keirins, couple of months, earning some coin.
Right, I reckon we've had a good 101 with cycling, with your career. I'm excited to sort of follow your journey, especially over the next 12 months. But I think we've got a bit of a long-term relationship building here, mate. I think we should definitely revisit this.
Yeah.
A little closer to some big events.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, get some more BackChat logos across your quaddies, across your chest. But I appreciate the chat. Have you had a bit of fun?
Yeah, it's been good.
Not too intimidating.
Real good.
We didn't have to do the history of the AFL. He said you're a bit worried about going through some AFL stats.
Just like name dropping. I'm just like,
All right. So what's this finish? No, who is it? Harry?
yeah.
Is that that's
Harry Live Racing.
okay. Fuck you, Harry. Matthew Richardson of the cycling variety. That's BackChat done and dusted. I usually hand over to Dan here for social media, but it kind of makes more sense that I'm reading this out. Not social, social. You've heard enough from me. It's time to hear from the people. We got questions from the crowd for you here.
We got some.
I saw it. Oh, we got plenty, mate.
Oh, nice.
Everyone always, we got some. Wait, there's stories as well. I saw you on there replying to some of them.
Yeah, I replied to one of them.
It's a big no-no. Because now I can't ask you because I know the answer.
I only replied to one.
It was what sort of hood burger was your order, right?
I'm going there tonight, so that's
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you get free hood burger?
No.
Okay. Do you get free anything? Shout out Pedal Mafia.
Yeah.
Propolex asks, how did you get such big quads?
Gym, squats.
Right.
Yeah, lots of gym. Like so much.
Yeah.
Like think about a lot of gym and then double it.
Right.
Yeah. At
Right.
least.
Like what are you squatting?
Triple it.
How much do you squat?
I can
bro?
squat 240.
Right.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So I weigh 110 at the moment, a little bit more than my playing weight. You can do me 2 and a bit times.
Yeah.
Whew. Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. Are you squatting the most?
Out of
I don't know, like your
the world.
No. I mean, like you.
Fun fact: world champion squatter. No.
Like your cycling crew, like the
Yeah.
okay.
Which I'm also the lightest, so it's good for the power to weight. It's good for power on the bike. Yeah.
Okay, you want big quads? Start squatting.
Yeah.
Lockie J. Hines, is your ultimate goal in life to become more famous than the AFL Matthew Richardson? Does this come up a bit?
He's
Sure.
my old gym coach. Oh, it came up so much. Like when I first came to Australia, obviously no idea what AFL was or anything.
Oh, yeah.
And he might have still been, 2010, 2009, he would have still been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was playing and
Yeah.
playing well.
Yeah. And then TV was on in the background. They're like, Matthew Richardson. And we were just like, what? It wasn't me, obviously. 9-year-old me was like, what? That's me. Matthew Richardson moves to Australia. Incredible. No.
Like, I mean, you've got the ultimate, like, you know, like how many world champs you got, Matty Richardson? Like, you could put that in front of him.
Yeah.
He's never won a premiership either.
Yeah.
So you've got some medallions floating around.
I may get him. You never know.
He's got you on the fame stakes.
Yeah.
right now,
Like you Google Matthew Richardson, he comes up.
you got a right cyclist.
You got to write. No, it's grim.
I reckon we should. We should.
I go to the post office, collect a parcel. They're like, I like the footy player. I'm just like, yeah, man.
Have you had like?
I want Matthew Richardson, the football player, to go into the post office and they go, like the cyclist. That would be goals.
That would be absolute life goals because it sounds like people have been disappointed to see it. They're like,
Matthew Richardson coming in, they see the package, they're like, what?
So our producer on the show here, Nick, for those listening, the guy didn't press record for the Hello Sport interview. Nick, I just said, Matty Richardson confirmed Thursday. So he only joined us this year. We interviewed the poorer Matt Richardson last year. And he's a massive old school footy fan. And he was like, fuck yeah, wrote this big list through of all these questions. I said, Matthew Richardson, the cyclist. And he was like, no, he was actually excited. He was.
Okay.
I was excited too.
Okay.
And have been thoroughly fulfilled. Lockie Allen, how many deadlift backflips can you do? 0?
No, I can do them.
What's a deadlift
You clearly haven't
backflip?
been on the gram. It's like fifth video down.
Indy did show me you jumping onto like a 7-story building. What's a deadlift backflip?
So I do a backflip, like I deadlift the bar up like a deadlift.
Yep.
And then I do a backflip with it.
With the bar.
In my hands, yeah.
So like
Yeah.
power with
Yeah.
How much weight's on it?
It was 20 kilos.
So the bar.
Well, it was a 15-kilo bar with,
I mean, look,
with
I'm not trying
fake
to talk this
25s
down.
on it.
So
a lot of people were like, oh, that wasn't 70 kilos because it looks like 70. And I'm just like,
Wow.
That's so impossible
So
to
is
be
the
able to
answer
do with
one?
70 kilos.
Lockie Allen, how many?
Well, I did about 10 that day.
in a
I've done
row?
probably about 15 in my life.
Would you be able to do 2 in a row?
Yeah.
Kel, any chance of a weightlifting career when you're done? A little weight.
Nah, my body will be done. So much weight has gone through the spine that I think it'll have had enough.
Yes.
By the time I'm retired.
I don't know how you do it. I hate
It's kind of grim.
Ness asked, do you have any bad food habits?
Apart from throwing up before every race.
What's your
bad habit?
I don't know.
Probably eating burgers.
Yeah, I was going to
for
say
dinner
yes.
tonight. That's probably not a good habit.
It doesn't sound like you've got to be like on a salad lean diet here. Like,
Coming into comp, I do
Yes.
because power to weight, got to lean up.
right.
But at the moment, I'm trying to gain as much mass as possible.
So large chips.
So hood burgers are right. Yeah.
Great. Well, this is a great way to finish, Sam. The way we finish every episode. Tappy, how do you like your eggs? The egg man. How do you like the eggs?
Poached
Poached.
on avo toast.
Is that right?
Yeah, a bit of salt and pepper.
Okay. Very good.
Bit of lime.
Delicious.
Delicious.
Socials, BackChat _. You know where to find us. hello@backchatpodcast.com.au is our email. All of the good stuff is over at backchatstudios.com.au. A big thank you to our sponsors. Fleet Network powering the podcast this year. Swimply, Whippersnapper Whisky, Margaret River Roasting Co., BlueBet, Shelter Brewing Co., Leadable Cameras, Mumba Digital. Little shout out, Pipe Pedal Mafia. You got anyone else you want to shout out? You can shout some of your sponsors out if you like.
Shout out Velobike.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's up, Velobike? That is us done and dusted. Matthew Richardson. Good luck, mate.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.